Hello, I'm Helen Bradley. Welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll show you how you can create umbrellas in two different ways in Illustrator. Before we get started with this video tutorial, let's look and see what it is that we're going to be making. We're going to make both of these umbrellas in Illustrator, and each of them is going to be created in a different way. You can see that the gores on this particular umbrella are all very even. It's going to be created in a simpler way than this one, which is going to be created using the 3D tools. But that said, they're both really easy to create anyway, and I'll show you how to do both. Now I'm going to put a link in the video to fast forward you to the 3D one. If you want to be able to create just that, then you can click and fast forward just to that point in the video, but we're going to start out with this one here. To get started with the first of the umbrellas, the simplest of them, I have a brand new document open in Illustrator. It's about 960 by 560 pixels in size, but it really doesn't matter how big it is. I'm going to select the ellipse tool here. I'm going to hold the Shift key as I draw out a small circle, and this is going to be the arch of the bottom of the umbrella. I'll click the Selection tool here, and I'm going to hold the Alt or Option key down as I just move another circle, a duplicate of this, across to the right. I'm going to make sure that there's a very small overlap here, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Hold the Move tool, hold Alt. I'm also going to hold Shift because that's going to move this in a parallel direction. Again, I'm going to have a slight overlap and then I'll let go. So I have three circles side by side, very slight overlap. To make sure that they're consistently overlapped, I'm going to select all three of these circles by dragging over them with the Selection tool. And then I'm going to click here on the horizontal distribute center icon. Just clicking that makes sure that they're distributed evenly, which they were anyway. Now I'll reselect the ellipse tool. This time I'm going to select a different fill color. Now at the moment my stroke color is foremost. If I just press the letter X on the keyboard, I switch stroke and fill, which means that my mouse, which is over here on the swatches panel, doesn't have to do a trip all the way back here and then all the way back again. Just find that a little bit easier. So now I'm going to hold the Shift key down and I'm going to draw a large circle, and I want it to be a size that will encompass these three smaller circles. Now something's happened here because my guides are not showing, so I'm just going to deal with that. I'm going to enable smart guides because at the moment they're not enabled, and that means that my circle is not showing when it's lined up with anything. So I'm just going to position it here, and you can see it's just a little bit too big. So I'm going to hold the Shift key as I just bring it down a little bit in size. Now I also need to send it behind everything, so with it selected I'll choose Object, Arrange, Center Back. And now I can see how everything's going to fit. I'm just looking at these curves or these points here. I'm thinking they're a little bit sharp, so I'm just going to go and again grab my circle and just hold the Shift key and just bring it in a little bit. So that's a pretty good shape for it all. This is the piece that I'm looking for, this very top blue shape. But at the moment, I just need to get all the pieces in place and then use the Pathfinder to get this shape out. To do that, I'm going to select all of the shapes and I'm going to make sure that the Pathfinder panel is available by choosing Window Pathfinder. And what I want to do is to subtract the frontmost shapes, which are these three across here, these three small circles, from the back shape. So I'll click minus front and then click away, and it's this shape that I want. So I'm going to select the lasso tool. I'm just going to lasso around the bit that I don't want and select it and press delete. So what I'm left with now is essentially the curves and the shape of my umbrella. Now it's time to put in the lines. So I'm going to target the ellipse tool. I'm going to drag out an ellipse here. So I'm going to start approximately above this point here. I'm actually going to change my fill and stroke. I want to remove my fill, so I'm going to press the / key to remove the fill. I'll press the letter X to bring the stroke to the foreground, and then I'll just go and select a different color. I'm going to make this quite a dark color so we can see it, so I'll choose this color here. And I'll go back to drawing out my ellipse. Now it needs to be an ellipse, so I'm just going to start drawing it out here. And if it doesn't appear in the exact correct position, the last thing I'm going to do is let go of this and go and try again, because I'll be here all day. What I can do is hold the space bar, and then I can move this ellipse into position. Just makes things a whole lot easier. So I'm just eyeballing this, and everything's looking pretty good here right now. We can zoom in and just make sure that the ellipse is well positioned here. It seems that it's probably a pixel or so out. So I'm just going to move it over a little bit and just check at the top that it's nicely aligned. In fact, it's coming down a little bit too far and a little bit too fast. So I'm going to the transform panel here, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit, and I'm going to do that by decreasing this Y element here. And if I think 245 is too little and 246 is too much, then I can type 245.5 in this box, and it'll just move down appropriately. Sometimes I'm finding, and particularly in these later versions of Illustrator, the alignment is just not perfect, and I really need to come in and be a little bit more careful with it, just making sure that it's exactly in the position I want it to be in. So if I'm happy with that now, I can close down that, and we can press Control or Command 0 to go back to seeing the entire image. Now I'm going to use these curves. I'm going to use the top part of the curve, but I want to get rid of the bottom part of the curve. So the first thing I need to do at this point is actually to turn this curve line into a shape. At the moment it's just a stroke and it's got no fill at all. So what I want to do is to turn this into a regular shape. Object expand. And I don't want to expand the fill because I don't want a fill because I don't even have one. I just want to expand the stroke. And click OK. So now this is a shape. It's a compound shape. It has an outside edge and an inside edge. I'm going to make a duplicate of the umbrella, so I'm going to click on the umbrella itself, and I'll choose Edit Copy, and then Edit Paste in Place, because that puts it in front of the shape behind. I'm going to turn off my original umbrella because I don't want to upset this. I don't want to select it by mistake or anything, so I've just turned it off so I can't even see it. Let's just see if we can get these panel icons to be a little bit larger so that you can see them a bit more clearly. Let's open up this group, which is this shape here, and you can see that the compound path is in a group all by itself. Well, we don't need it there, so we're just going to drag it out. And there's a group here for this. We don't need that to be a group either. So here are our two shapes, and what I want to do is I just want the place where these two shapes intersect, which is essentially the place where this compound path is here. So I'm going to select over them, and then I'm going to the Pathfinder window, Pathfinder. And what I want is intersect. So I'll click intersect. And that's giving me just this shape here, which is the piece that I wanted. Now let's go back and bring back the original umbrella. Well, again, that's in a group, so I can just drag the path out of there. I don't like to make my layers panel overly complex. Now that's a particular case if you're making stock images. You want to keep your layers panel really nice and neat and don't have things in there that you don't need, because you just end up with really, really messy images. So there we are, there's the top part of the umbrella. Now all we need is the stem, and I'm going to make that in one piece. Now we could make it using the pen tool, but some people find the pen tool a little scary, so let's take pity on you and let's just do it with the line segment tool. So I'm going to click the line segment tool. I'm going to line this up, and I'm right over the center of this shape, and my smart guides are telling me that. I'm going to hold down the Shift key as I do this because I want this to be perfectly vertical. So there is my shape. And let's just give it a wider stroke. So I'm going to make the stroke 2 points. And I need to expand this. So I'm going to choose Object, Expand. Again, we don't need to expand the fill because it has no fill that we need to care about. We're just going to expand the stroke and click OK. And here is our path for this stem here. Now we need the hook at the bottom, and we can just borrow a circle for that. So let's go and get the ellipse tool, and let's drag out a circle for this, holding the Shift key as we draw it to make sure that we get a circle. So there's our circle shape. Of course, we've got it filled when we really want a stroke. So I'm going to press Shift and X to flip these around, but of course I could just click this icon here as well. And because I want to match the stroke here to the stroke that we have for the rest of the umbrella, I'm just going to increase that to 2 points. Now I need to line everything up, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and grab the Move tool and just line these two shapes up. Now I'm having a little bit of difficulty aligning these two shapes right now, but I'm going to go ahead and create my half circle first before I start lining these up any better. So with the direct selection tool selected, I'm just going to click and drag so I can pick up this anchor point here. And I want to select that anchor point and press delete, and that gives me my half circle. Now I want to turn this into a filled shape rather than a line as well, but before I do, I want to round this cap, and I can get to that from the stroke option. So there's a stroke option here and there's a stroke option here, and they work exactly the same. So I just want to go in and turn my caps into rounded caps. And now I'll choose Object, Expand. I don't want to expand the fill, I do want to expand the stroke. I'll click OK. And here in the Layers palette, I can just break that shape out of its group because it didn't need to be in one. Now let's go and move this into position. Well, it's not happy about going into the exact position, so I'm going to choose the direct selection tool and select over both the half circle and also this vertical line. And then I'm going to click on the vertical line because that makes it selected. That means that any adjustment that I click up here is going to adjust the two shapes relative to the property of this vertical line. So what's going to happen is this circle is going to move, the vertical line won't. I'm just going to click here on Horizontal Align Right. And now these two shapes are aligned. I just need to select this shape and just move it down a little bit so that we get this smooth transition between the two shapes. And I'm going to select over both of them and click the Unite option because that's going to create a single shape from these two shapes. And let's press Control or Command 0. And now all I need to do is to move the handle back behind the umbrella. I'm going to select the entire shape and I'm going to group it, choosing Object, Group. Once it's grouped, it will now resize. I can hold the Shift key and resize it, and I can also rotate it. So there is the first of our two umbrellas. The next one we're going to create using the 3D tools in Illustrator. To create our second umbrella, we're going to start with a rectangle. So I'm just trying to draw out a rectangle here, a long narrow rectangle. Now this one has a dark red stroke and a light pink fill. Now I'm going to draw out an ellipse. Well, actually it's going to be a circle. I'm just going to place that over the top of this rectangle. Now I don't want it to have a stroke, and I do want it to have a different color fill just so it's easy to see. So I'm going to move it into position here and just make sure that it is big enough to fit entirely over this shape, which it's not right now. So once it's sized neatly, I'm going to select both of these shapes here, and then I'm going to transform them. So I'm going to choose Effect, Distort and Transform, and then Transform. I'm going to click on Preview. I want 9 more copies of this, so I'll press the number 9 here, or type the number 9, and now I'm just going to move out this horizontal value. I'm going to move it until these shapes line up side by side. And when I'm happy, I'll click OK. And so now this is the shape that I'm going to map onto my 3D object. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to make sure that the Symbols panel is visible here. And I'm just going to drag and drop it in as a new symbol. So I'm just going to click on it and just drag it and click OK. And it's now a symbol. So I can move this out of the way here. The next thing is to create the circle for our umbrella. So I'm going to select the Ellipse tool and I'm going to draw out a circle. And now I'm going to take my direct selection tool. I'm going to click on one of these points. It can be on either side, and just press the delete key because I just need half a circle. With it still selected, I'm going to choose Effect and then 3D and then Revolve. And I'm going to click on Preview. And yours might turn out like this, in which case you're thinking, oh, this does not look right. Well, it isn't right, but the problem is that at the moment it's revolving from the left edge, but if we just set it to revolve from the right edge, everything will be just fine. So this is our shape. Next thing we need to do is to map this piece of art onto our shape. So I'll click Map Art. And now we only have one surface here. You can see here it says surface 1 of 1. Well, we just need to identify which surface we're going to be working with, and because there's only one, that's the one we're working with. So I'm going to click down here and choose New Symbol. Now my symbol isn't big enough, but I can fix that, and I can just pull it into position and stretch it so that it fits across the shape. Now if we'd expanded this symbol into its component pieces, it might have been just a little bit easier to work with, but this is just fine. So let's just click OK. And now we need to check out the shape for our umbrella. If we don't want to see this top area here, then we're going to need to rotate it back a little bit. I'm just going to rotate it back. And 0 is a good setting for that. And I'm also going to set this value to 0. And then I just need to work out what I want to happen around the sides of my shape. Now, at the moment, I've got an interesting thing happening here, not something that I'm particularly happy with. So I'm going to rotate this and just see if I can get a better result. Well, I think that the thing I'm seeing here is the very edge of my pattern. So I think if I rotate it in the other direction, I can rotate my shape so that that disappears, and so it's not going to cause me any stress here. And what I'm looking at is that this area here and this area here are about even. So I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to click OK. Now if we go to the Layers palette, I'm just going to hide, well actually I'm going to get rid of my new symbol because I don't need that at all. I'm going to hide the original umbrella because we don't need that. But we are going to have a look at here at the shape that we've just created, and it is a path. And if we were to have a look in the Appearance panel, we would see that the 3D appearance, the 3D effect, is just an effect added to this half circle path. And we could double click in here to go back into the 3D options to make any changes that we wanted to. But because I want to work with the pieces and not in actual fact this circle, I'm going to need to expand it. So with the shape selected, I'll choose Object, Expand Appearance. And then if I open up my groups here, you'll see that we have some interesting things happening. And at this point, you might be going, oh, I don't really know what's happening here at all. Well, it's not as confusing as it looks. For a start, this clipping group here, this one at the very bottom, if I turn it off, nothing happens to the image. And the reason for this is that it's the back half of this shape. This is a sphere. It's a three-dimensional sphere. So it has this pattern wrapped around the back side of it as well. And this is just the image components of the back side of this sphere. And so because we only want to see the front side of the sphere, we can happily delete that. So I'm just going to trash that. So one piece of this is gone. Let's have a look and see what we've got here. Well, let's just select the pieces that we've got and see. And you can press delete, and if nothing happens that you didn't want to happen, then you can just happily let it go. So let's try this. This is just some little bits left over from this rotation, which we don't really need. So we've got rid of all of those. Now what we've got here is our actual shape. So this is our 3D shape here, and that is something that we want to keep. So we definitely want that piece. We don't want the green bit because that was the shading that was applied to the shape, so we can happily trash that. And we've got a clipping path. So for now, let's grab these two pieces and let's move this all the way out of these groups so that we open things up and we can see what we've got. And now I'm going to open up this panel. And what it looks like is that we've got some green pieces. We've got these green pieces across the middle, and all we used them for was to divide these pink pieces into nice curvy bits. So we don't need those. So I'm going to take all of these green pieces and delete them. Just press delete. Okay, this is starting to look like our other umbrella, but just that this one has some dimension to it. Now we have a series of compound paths. If you click on these, you can see what each of these paths is, and you can also see in their little thumbnails. So we can't delete any of these because we want the top bit, but we don't want the bottom bit. But we've already seen the solution to that. We're just going to go and get the lasso tool, and we're just going to lasso through here and select all the bits that we don't want, and then press the delete key. And there's a little bit of tidying up perhaps to do around here as well. Just going to select around these areas and see if there's anything that we no longer want. This is probably the only bit. No, I want that as well. You can test it by just turning these on and off, and if they don't make any difference or any visible difference to the shape, you can get rid of them. Well, I don't think that one's making any visible difference, so I can get rid of it. This one is making a visible difference. And so now let's look at this path here. There's a path here that we don't need either, so we can get rid of it. So what we've done is we've used the 3D rotation to get the shape and the pieces, and we've just ungrouped everything and just poked around here to see which bits we want and which bits we don't want. And they're in a group, and we're just going to close up that group because that is the canopy of the second of our umbrellas. And all we need is a stick. So let's go, this time let's use the pen tool. So I'm going to start above the umbrella here by just clicking, and then I'm going to hold the shift key so that I constrain, then I'm going to hold the shift key to constrain this to a vertical line, and then I'm going to click and drag downwards. I'm going to go across to here and find a position directly opposite that point that I just made, and click and drag upwards, and that gives me my half circle. Now at the moment I've got a fill rather than a stroke, and I've also got something attached to my pen tool. So let's deal with the something attached to my pen tool. I'm just going to hold the control key and just click away from the shape, and that gets rid of that thing that was attached. It virtually finishes off the pen tool. And I'm just going to click here or press Shift X to reverse these two. Be better if I did that with the shape selected. So now I've got the stroke and not the fill. I'm going to increase the stroke for this one to 3 points. And now because this is still a line, we can finesse the line. I'm going to zoom into the handle here, and with the direct selection tool, I can now make sure that this looks a little bit more semicircular. If I'm happy with this, I can go ahead and turn this line into a shape. So I'll choose Object, Expand, and we want to expand only the stroke and click OK. Now you don't technically have to do that for your own art, but if you're creating stock, then you will need to make sure that this is a shape and not an open path. And now we're just going to move this behind the rest of the umbrella. We'll just open up its group, and you can see that it's in a group here. Let's get it out of the group. Let's open the group that we're putting it in, and we want to put it in at the bottom underneath everything else. We'll just make sure it's in the bottom, and now it's grouped in that umbrella group, and so it's traveling with the rest of the umbrella. Now it looks like we've got another piece of path sitting here for some reason. Doesn't appear to be doing any work, so let's just get rid of it. So here you have your two umbrellas. They've been created using different processes. This one is a more even umbrella. This one's a more realistic umbrella. I'm Helen Bradley. Thank you for joining me for this video tutorial. Look out for more video tutorials here on my YouTube channel, and consider subscribing to my channel, and you'll be alerted when new videos are released. And visit my website at projectwoman.com, where you'll find more tips, tricks and tutorials on a range of applications including Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator and a whole lot more.